Are stocks undervalued or overvalued based on a comparison between the S&P 500's market cap and U.S. gross domestic product? Stocks are now 72% more richly priced than they have tended to be on average for the past 50 years. Welcome to Trading Nation. I'm Dominic Chu, joined by Nick Collis of Convergix, Gina Sanchez of Chantico Global. Gina, let's start with you. Ladies first. Is this a sign that stocks are overvalued?
Well, it's certainly one way of looking at it. And because we take the macro view as our fundamental cornerstone, this is speaking our language. And the reality is that there should be a relationship between GDP growth and profits growth. And that has largely been absent because we have been supporting profits growth or earnings growth with things like share buybacks and other unsustainable factors, and fooling ourselves into thinking that that's actually sustainable profits. What this is pointing out is that GDP is growing in a weak way, and that the S&P 500, from a market cap perspective, which takes that pricing that I'm talking about into perspective, and basically says we are paying too much for the growth that we can expect to get out of the S&P 500.
All right, so Nick, it's interesting she brings up a good point here, Gina does. Let's talk about it, because a lot of this is perhaps, some would argue, multiple expansion, right? I mean, profits aren't exactly growing all that much, if at all, yet people are paying more for stocks to own every share of profits. So what is your take on this? Does this mean that the stock market is overvalued?
Well, there's a couple of explainable factors that at least partially offset the concern that you're very rightly raising. The first is simply that interest rates are a lot lower now than they have been for most of the last 50 years. And with low risk-free rates, you get a lower rate at which to capitalize or the earnings of the companies, and therefore get a higher valuation for the market as a whole. How long those things can last, how long rates can stay this low, open question, but at least it does explain it. We also have a lot of U.S. companies that generate significantly more profits overseas and are really market leaders. Think Apple or Facebook. U.S. companies that have global marketplaces and therefore have a bigger arena in which to play and potentially produce profits. So it is definitely a worrisome sign, a worrisome number, but there are some good explanations for a piece of it. The question you have to ask is, how sustainable are they?
Gotcha. So it sounds like we can't explain away some of these things. However, it is going to come down to whether these companies can ultimately show that despite the environment, they can actually grow revenues and profits going forward, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, Gina and Nick. And thanks for joining Trading Nation. I'm Dominic Chu. We'll see you next time around.